everyone, the question that I'm going to cover in this video is, if there's no purpose to life, then why try to debunk religion? Now for this video, when I talk about religion, I'm going to be specifically talking about the Abrahamic religions for two reasons. The first reason is that if someone asks me a question about religion, they're going to be asking about the Abrahamic religions unless they specify otherwise, because, reason two, most people that are religious do fall under one of these religions. In other words, if you're watching this as a religious person, just by statistics alone, you're probably Jewish, Christian, or Muslim. However, the answers that I give in this video will apply to any religion that does talk about some kind of afterlife, good or bad. So if you're Hindu, then this will also apply to you. So let's figure out first, what is the purpose to life according to these Abrahamic religions? Well, the purpose is worship. Not only worship, but to worship the one who programmed you to worship it. That doesn't really sound like a purpose to me. Now, if you want to say, well, wait a minute, Lee, what do you mean programmed? If we worship God, Allah, Jehovah, whatever, we're doing it of our own free will. And the people that say that haven't actually read their text, regardless of if it's just the Torah, if it's the Bible, or if it's the Quran. In all three of these texts, it specifically addresses the fact that God, Allah, Yahweh, whatever, has basically set things up the way that he wants and does whatever he wants to achieve that goal. A great example would be Moses versus the Pharaoh of Egypt. God hardened his heart so that he could cause terror to the people and free the Hebrew people. He could have done anything he wanted. He could have freed them with no bloodshed whatsoever. But he actually changed the will of one person, a very instrumental person, which would be the Pharaoh, in order to do terrible damage and cause horrible death upon the people that he just wanted to kill, I guess. If you go up to Job, and this poor guy, very pious, very religious, and suddenly, just to win a bet with Satan, God allows all this terrible stuff to happen to him. And Job, gosh, he just kept saying, you know, God, please just show me what I did wrong, so that way I could repent, and then all of this will just go away and I'll be back under your blessing again. And he keeps begging God, tell me what I did wrong so I can make it right. And eventually God shows up and says, look, I'm doing what I'm doing, okay? Deal with it. Who are you to question me? I created the world. Did you create the world? I don't think so. I get to do what I want. In the New Testament, it talks about all of us are the clay, and who are we, the clay, to question the potter for doing things that the potter chooses to do. And in fact, all throughout the Bible and the Torah, people that God wants to win certain things, like win wars or be excused from death or what have you, he just makes that happen. And that happens too in the Quran. I have one verse right here for you, since I think fewer people are versed in the Quran as they are in the Bible. Quran chapter 3 or Surah 3, verse 151. We will cast terror into the hearts of those who disbelieve for what they have associated with Allah, of which he had not sent down authority, and their refuge will be the fire, and wretched is the residence of the wrongdoers. So it says they will terrorize people and then force them into fire. And it actually says in the next verse, and Allah had certainly fulfilled his promise to you when you were killing the enemy by his permission, until the time when you lost courage and fell to disputing about the order given by the prophet, and disobeyed after he had showed you that which you love. So it doesn't matter how well someone is trained or how good of a fighter they are, how great of a military tactician they are. If Allah doesn't want you to win, you will lose. If Allah wants you to win, it doesn't matter how poorly you fight, you will succeed. None of this at all has anything to do with free will, personal ability, or anything of that sort. And so now, let's remember too that the God of this religion, or these collective religions, is a God that knows all, in all times. That means God, when you are born, already knows, according to this belief, what you will choose, what he will make you choose, and where you will end up, which is heaven or hell. If you have some disputes about hell, some people believe that it is a place that you will be for eternity. Some people believe it doesn't exist. When you die, you just die. And there's another belief that if you go to hell, you're punished for a time, and then you're able to earn your way into heaven in some fashion. I've heard a lot of these different options just within the Abrahamic religions. So you're there in hell because God or Allah or Jehovah, whatever, has hardened your heart. You didn't choose to go there. I mean, a lot of atheists talk about, I don't choose to believe what I believe is stuff that I'm convinced of. I can't force myself to believe in something. But let's just ignore that altogether. Let's go by what the actual text says. The text says that those who disbelieve in Allah, those who disbelieve in Yahweh, they disbelieve because your deity has hardened our hearts. It's not through any choice of mine according to your theology. Your theology is that your God has hardened my heart, and for that, I will be punished. Whether you believe I'll be punished eternally, punished by having no afterlife, or punished for a while and then I'm allowed into heaven, that's up to your individual beliefs. But you believe that it's okay for me to be punished because God chose to harden my heart. That's a bit of a strange situation, isn't it? It doesn't seem like I have any drive of my own. And then if I do go to heaven, I'm there to worship, and that's it. So I have to live a very short life in which God does whatever he wants with me, only to die and either suffer forever or worship forever based on what God chose for me to do. What part of that says that my life has a purpose? Nothing. In fact, considering that eternity is eternity and our lives are but a blip in the eye of eternity, as the common phrase goes in these religions, what is the purpose of me actually being here? God knows where I'm going to go. God chooses where I'm going to go, actively chooses where I'm going to go. So why even have this little this sidestep of life? Why not just create souls and put them where you want them to be ultimately? There's no purpose to life whatsoever in the context of this religious belief. So what is my purpose to life? Well, my purpose to life is really tangible. You see, for a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, or people that do believe in other religions, their ultimate purpose is to achieve some kind of good afterlife. That's their goal. That's their end goal, which means their end goal is something that has absolutely no evidence to support that it even can happen. Unfortunately, to achieve that goal, they do things that cause harm to other people in this life. Now, I can't tell you whether a God exists or not. I don't know. I can't tell you whether an afterlife exists or not, or whether there's some kind of spirit or soul in my body that will continue on after my body dies. I don't know what happens. But I can say that I do know if you deny children polio vaccines because you believe that it's some kind of Western conspiracy to limit Muslim children as they believe in Pakistan, which is why polio vaccine workers, such as nurses, for example, are killed by extremists. That's a bad thing that tangibly, right now, hurts people. If you deny your child access to medical care, even though you have access to medical care and can afford it, because you would rather pray to show piety to gain favor for your God so that you may grant or get access into heaven, and your child dies as a result, that is something tangible that happens today. There is no question about the fact that you have killed your child through your inaction. When you try to vote in your religious beliefs and cause problems to people today that do not happen to follow your religion because of your religious beliefs, that is causing harm to people today. You are hurting people today in a way that you can see, that you can understand, that you can hear, simply because maybe an afterlife might exist that maybe you might be rewarded for if the God that you believe in just so happens to believe that you should be rewarded. And what are you rewarded with? The fact that you get to worship for all eternity. That's it. That doesn't sound... There are words that I'm trying to think of and all of them come off rude, but it doesn't sound rational, it doesn't sound sane, it doesn't sound logical, and it doesn't sound kind or anything. It sounds pretty awful, actually. Now for me, what is my purpose? It's whatever I choose it to be. And now some people will say, but Lee, you don't believe that you're going to live forever. That's true. But, just because your house isn't going to be here forever doesn't mean that you never cleaned it up. Just because you're not going to live forever doesn't mean that you stop eating. We can try to make our lives better today and improve our quality of life today. And because we are social animals, if I improve the quality of life of other people, that improves everybody's quality of life overall in some way. If I teach children how to think instead of what to think, they can become good voters that vote with logic and reason and can improve the quality of life of people in the same nation by making better laws. That's great. I don't have to live forever to know that I hate getting migraines. And I hate getting migraines that sometimes are triggered by bad air. I don't need to look forward to an afterlife to understand that I want to make better decisions about air quality. But I've heard from people that are religious, that do fall under these Abrahamic religions, that honestly it doesn't matter what we do to this earth because we're not going to be here. We're going to be raptured, or God isn't going to let us hurt the earth. They're okay with continuous pollution that causes harm to people like myself, but also harm to them. I mean, they're breathing the same air. They're okay with that because they believe in the end they will be rewarded with permanent forced worship. That doesn't sound like a life I want to live. That doesn't sound like a world in which I want to live either. So for me, the purpose of trying to address religious inconsistencies or problematic religious thinking, let's say, the purpose of me doing that is to live in a world that's a little bit better than it is today. Think of all the things that we're denying ourselves because of religion. Think of all the great thinkers living in places like West Asia that are being held back because of Islam. Think of Muslim people in India that could be contributing amazing things to conservation or science or the internet and how fast our Wi-Fi speeds are. But instead they're being murdered because they're Muslim people that are marrying Hindu people. And there are Hindus killing Muslim people because they believe in something called love jihad. That's a waste of talent. That's a waste of potential. And because of that, even though I don't live in India, even though I don't live in Iraq or Iran or other places where religion, when we think of religious oppression or religious leadership or religious rules, we tend to think of those nations. Even though I don't live there, as a person that's part of an ever-growing global society, I am affected by those losses of lives. When we have people in other places doing faith healing, even though they have absolute access to totally fine medical care, and those people die, we're losing out as a society. We are hurting our society because of people that believe in a intangible reward, but the reward is just forced worship that was mandated by their own God. I mean, to put it in a gaming terms, we're like all NPCs, and we're just kind of interacting with whatever and however we've been programmed to. And if the game designer wants to shut down our character or do something different with our character, it's up to them. We have no say in it. That's not purpose. It also doesn't help anybody. Who does it help at all? It doesn't help anybody. And yes, again, maybe I'm not going to live forever, and that's fine. That doesn't mean that I can be happy or satisfied living in this less than idealistic or less than great situation that I'm in. That's the reason that I make these videos, and that's the reason that I do what I do all the time. I donate to charity every month. It's automatically taken out every month. It's just scheduled. I help people that are homeless. I feed homeless people. There's a few people that I always give food to. And I do that, and people ask me, why are you doing that? Do you really think that's going to fix the problem of homelessness? No, it's not. But it is going to remind those people that, hey, you're worth something, and I don't want to treat you any worse just because you're different from me. And that could mean something in their life. Maybe that'll inspire something? I don't know. But I do know that if I want the world to improve, I have to be willing to make efforts to improve it. And that's what I believe my purpose is. Doing things that I can do to help make things better for other people and also myself. I think that's a far more tangible purpose than causing harm or death to people simply because maybe there's an afterlife and maybe my afterlife belief is correct, and if it is, then I'm going to worship the God that I was programmed to worship by the God itself. That doesn't seem like a purpose to me. If you want to discuss it in another way and you think that I was totally wrong on this idea of purpose, then please feel free to post it in the comments section below. If you want to contact me, there's a lot of different ways to contact me in the details section below. There's also a Discord server if you want to give some video ideas or what have you. Also, if you like some of the stuff that I have to say and you want to check me out on Patreon, that's cool too. I've just removed all monetization from my videos because I think that the ads are annoying and it's just not paying off anyway. So if you guys want to check me out on Patreon, there's some stuff that's exclusive to patrons. So you can check me out there for as little as $1 a month, which is pretty cool. But as always, thanks for listening.